What's up, guys? This is Chris here, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 least reliable handguns. The handguns that I have had on the channel that have the most malfunctions. When I do these top 5s, I have to go through all of my old footage and check and see which ones did the best, or in this case, the worst. And it was kind of brutal to do the research on this. Now, we've had a lot of guns on the channel. Most of them are fun, but these 5, not so much. Avoid these in your purchase history. That way you don't have to go through what I went through. Now, I do want to mention my patron supporters before we get started. You guys make all of this possible, and I can't thank you guys enough. You guys supply us with ammunition and usually better guns than these, so I really appreciate you guys. And if you want to support the channel, all you have to do is go down to the link in the description and sign up. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter named Iowa. It's the YSS. Those kids could really use your help. I love supporting them, so if you have a couple extra bucks, please go down there and donate to them. Now, before we get into it, I do want to preface that we've had, I think, 1,000 gun videos. So I've shot a lot of guns, but not absolutely every gun. However, all of these guns are probably going to be the least reliable handguns that you will ever see in the gun store. In order to do worse than this, you're really going to have to work at it. Also, there's going to be some people in the comment section that are going to say they have 10,000 rounds for these guns and never had a failure. Nobody believes you, so don't even type it. So let's get right into it with number 5, probably the most reliable gun on the list, and that is going to be the Hi-Point 380. Even if it's an $80 handgun, somebody breaks in your house, that'll happen. First off, I'll tell you the good stuff. It's affordable. That's where it ends. The bad stuff. The trigger is really bad. The ergonomics are sort of 1930s-esque. The capacity on the Hi-Point is very minimal for the size and weight. Very minimal capacity, between 7 and 8 rounds. And it's a very large gun for a 380, but it gets worse. It's a blowback operated gun, so the recoil on it is much more than you would find in a standard Browning action. And because it's blowback operated, they have to make the slide much heavier to reciprocate with the recoil of the firearm. So it's extremely top heavy. It sort of seems like the worst blend of firearm mechanics that you could put together in a handgun, and in a way it kind of is. It's sort of a way that you can make something in the United States for the same price that you would make it in a third world country. Now, the 9mm is sort of reliable compared to a lot of other $100 to $200 guns, but the 380, in my experience, is very unreliable.
And the malfunction.
Well, it actually has 3 rounds in there somehow. That's actually the most wild malfunction I've ever had. Now, I don't know if it's just too underpowered to work the action, because a 380 obviously has a little bit less powder and a little bit less power than a 9mm, and since it's blowback, it needs actual pressure to run the slide. And in the case of this one in particular, very, very unreliable.
Malfunction clearing drills are always good, I guess.
Now, the course of us shooting this, we have about 300 rounds through it and probably around 20 malfunctions at least. The reason why it's only at number 5 and not at number 1 is because, number 1, they're very, very affordable, and number 2, at least I could get several shots in a row without a malfunction. So that's pretty good, especially for this list. Now, in at number 4 is the only gun that I don't have here on the table anymore because I sold it because I hate that gun. And that is going to be the Gerson 2311. Now, the Gerson 2311 was a gun that I had high expectations for, I'm going to be honest with you. Up till the Gerson 2311, I had a pretty good experience with Gerson firearms. They seemed to be decent for the money. I had the high power clone and a few other of their guns. Enter the 2311. I first shot it at TriggerCon 2023, and the gun that I shot there was a disaster. They actually brought it for influencers to shoot, and the gun consistently malfunctioned over and over again. On top of that, they tried to do some trigger work to it that definitely was not in the final installment. Then they sent me one for review, which I can't believe they did, because, I mean, whatever happens here, I show. And in which case, we did. We shot our first shots of it, and we shot about 200 rounds through it, and it had about 10% malfunctions. Now, maybe it was slightly more more reliable than the actual high point, but instead of being $100, the Gerson 2311, because it is a double stack 1911, comes in at around $700 to $800, which I would consider probably one of the worst wastes of money. Now, the problems with the 2311 don't end there, however. Not only is it very unreliable with every ammunition type and every magazine that we tried, but the gun itself also didn't have a good trigger. It wasn't accurate. The controls all sucked, and it all around was a pretty awful gun. So I'm pretty happy to put it on this list, and hopefully you can avoid this gun, because even though double stack 1911s are pretty expensive, there are some affordable-ish ones that aren't bad. The Prodigy, Bull Armory is great, and then obviously the Live Free Armory Apollo was really good as well, as the Mac 9, although it wasn't the most reliable gun in the world, was more reliable than the Gerson. So Gerson 2311 sucks, and that's why it's at number 4. In at number 3, we have our first 22, and that is going to be this guy right here. This is the Taurus PT22. But that thing's a real piece of shit. I'm happy too, because I needed a piece of shit for my terrible gun list. But I do like the flip out thing. Now this is the sort of a Beretta Tomcat that you have at home, and it is really, really bad. Not only is this unreliable, but it's also a pretty terrible gun in its own right. So first off, very lightweight gun, which is very good, and that entices people to carry it, because not only is it lightweight, but it's also affordable. So a lot of people, when they walk into a gun store, they're looking around and they see a gun, they go, oh, I like that Beretta, I've heard of that Beretta. Oh, look, a cheaper Beretta, except it's just made in Brazil, but it's the same thing, right? It's not the same thing. This guy here is extremely unreliable. Now, the gun itself has a very interesting mechanism. It's supposed to be for smaller statured or newer shooters, which are generally the people that buy tiny little 22s for concealed carry in the first place. Now, 22 is not the best round for reliability. Let's start with that. Number one, it is a rimmed cartridge, which means inherently it's going to be less reliable than a centerfire cartridge. You can argue with me, but you're wrong. On top of that, this gun actually uses a very interesting system. It uses a tip-up barrel. I like this thing though, that's kind of cool. And that's actually why I bought this gun, because it makes me feel good when I do that. I'm gonna do it a couple more times for you just because it's the best part of the gun. Haha! Now the downside to this system is that it doesn't work at all. Malfunction number dos.
Out of
dose. You can load one in the tube, and you can put it in the tube, and you can fire the gun. Then after that, this slide actually cycles and makes it an auto loader. So you don't have to breech load every one, you just breech load the first one. Now that is because sometimes it's harder for people to pull the slide back. However, because it's Taurus and it's made really shitty, it's actually harder to push this open and pop this up than it is to pull a slide back, so it defeats the entire purpose of the gun. Also adds complexity and parts breakages, because this gun's already broke once doing that. I actually hit the lever once and the whole gun completely fell apart.
Oh, already.
And we have a malfunction. That did not take long. The good news is that it kind of fell apart.
Oh.
Well, that's new. All right. Well, I didn't plan for that. It just screams quality. Now, the second part about the gun is that also the auto-loading portion doesn't work. Now, that's partly because 22 is unreliable, partly because Taurus makes their guns out of melted beer cans, and also because it's just a bad system in general. Overall, I would consider this one of the most unreliable guns that I've ever shot on the channel, but on top of that, since it has very low power and a relatively low capacity of around 10 rounds, I would consider it one of the worst choices that you can get for concealed carry. Sadly, I've seen many of these carried because of its price. It comes in around $200 to $300. You're better off probably just burning $400 and taking an Instagram video of it than you are actually buying one of these. In at number 2, we have the least reliable 9mm handgun we've ever had on the channel, and that is the SCCY, or SCCY, CPX-2 9mm. Now, when I got this gun, I bought it because it was the most affordable gun in the gun store at the time. I thought it'd be a fun title. I also thought if it worked well, I could throw it on a bunch of under 300, under 400 lists. Holy shit, was I wrong. So this gun itself is a standard Browning action. It is a single stack 9mm with a 10-round magazine, and it's double action only. Double action only traditionally is a pretty reliable system. However, with this one, we've had in the reliability issues we've had, I'm not sure that I would want to carry this. Example A through B. And on top of that, double action only gives you a really, really terrible trigger pull and a horrible reset. So you can see here when I reset the gun, it actually doesn't reset until you're way out there, which decreases rate of fire like a California assault weapons ban. Now, on top of that, the gun is fat. It feels weird in your hand. It's very inaccurate. And why it's on this list, good times. I think it had about 40 malfunctions. So I guess that's about 1 1/4. So every 3 rounds you shoot, you're gonna have a malfunction. And that was with multiple types of ammo with multiple magazines. So overall, a very, very unreliable handgun. And I would definitely not recommend this for concealed carry. Now, out of all the 9mm guns we've ever tested, the SCCY is certainly one of the worst. And in my opinion, at least in my experience, the least reliable. Now, to beat this, I had to dig into the depths of the archives of my channel, and as a matter of fact, to the very bottom of my gun safe. Under all of the rifles, at the very bottom, just laying there, was this huge piece of shit. And that is the Intratec Tec-22. Now, if this looks a lot like a Tec-9, you're right. It is very similar to a Tec-9. And if you're like, man, the Tec-9's pretty unreliable, well, you haven't tried this yet. This is the rimfire version of a Tec-9, essentially. Now, I got this from my boy Elliot. I actually bought this from him, and I feel pretty terrible about it, but I'm happy that nobody else that was ever going to use this seriously actually ended up with this. And if you're wondering why I bought it, it's because it looks pretty cool. You can see that with the magazine in, the silhouette looks really, really good. It looks sick. It looks very 80s. I'm about to, I don't know, sell some drugs. The gun is the least reliable gun we've ever had on the channel. I've had this out multiple times, and this is kind of a gag gun I bring out. I have the Outlaw, I have this, and then I have a couple other guns. When gun tubers come over here, they're used to shooting high-end stuff. I like to hand them this, and we actually had Mr. Guns and Gear shoot this, which was pretty funny. Now, part of the reason why this is unreliable is, again, the blowback action, the super cheap and shitty magazines, and then mostly the quality of the firearm, because this is, again, under $400, and almost everywhere that you go. I picked this up for $200 myself. It does have some cool features. Got a threaded barrel. We have very rudimentary but kind of cool sights, and it does have a very cool silhouette to it with a paddle magazine release, and believe it or not, a decent trigger. All that being said, that would be kind of cool, and it'd be kind of a fun gun to shoot if it was reliable, but again, obviously not. Now, not only did this not work with cheap 22 ammunition, but it didn't work with SCCY Mini Mag or any of the other high quality ammunition that I use for rimfire competitions. And not only that, but it's never really ever worked with anything. That is the best. Oh, we did have a failure. I was gonna say that's the best that ever worked. Overall, I would say no matter how you lube this, no matter what ammo you put in it, no matter what mags you put in it, at least this one here, it's not gonna work. And because of that, it went to #1 on this list. I know this is probably not a gun that most people are gonna carry or shoot, so maybe the SCCY is actually the worst offender after all, because you're gonna run into these in the gun store. But in my personal opinion, if you run into any of these in the gun store and you're thinking about buying them because they're affordable, do not do that. And before you go, I'll give you a couple affordable guns that you could pick up for around the same price that you can actually carry. That way you didn't waste your time completely here. So first off, check out the CZ-P10 series, maybe the CZ-P10S. Those guns can be found for under $300. They're about as affordable as the SCCY, but they pack a higher capacity, have a better trigger, and they are stupid reliable. Another great company to check out would be Canic. Really, really good for the money. I have tons of reviews on them as well, and they come in somewhere between $300 and $400 for used versions of those. Also, don't discount used guns as long as they're good. If you see maybe the SCCY or maybe the High Point, you're looking at getting that, and a used M&P Gen 1 is the same price, get the M&P. It'll last you a lifetime, and it won't shit out on you when you need it the most. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.